Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be doing the fourth video in this anti-faction status guide series. So the very first day we did Grenier, then we did Corpus, then we did Infested, and today we're going to be going over Anti-Murmer statuses. So just to explain the Murmur a little bit, they're the guys that you're going to fight like in the Whispers content. They're on Deimos from the Sanctum Anatomica, I think that's how you say it. They are resistant to viral, so viral will do a little bit less damage to them. And they take more damage, they're vulnerable to radiation and electric. So, and if we look at them here, there's about a half and half split. So the Murmur themselves are these little like feet people, I call them. With like these little hands and feet, and they have all kinds of weird crap like that. But if you look, they have red health, so they don't have any armor. But the other half of the Murmur faction is constructs. They use these like rogue necromechs, or I guess these are like baby necromechs. They use like rogue necromechs and baby necromechs to fight with them. But if you look, the other half of their faction, these necromechs have armor. So half of their faction is armored and half of them are not armored. Okay. So that is Murmur. So we're going to be checking 6 different elements today. So we're doing the biggest element check in this, just because Murmur is kind of a weird faction, and I wanted to throw some of these other elements in there to check them out. So we're going to be checking electric and radiation, of course, because they are the elements that do more damage to Murmur. We're going to be testing blast, because blast is kind of brand new how it works, and so we're just kind of throwing it into the mix of all these tests. We're going to be testing corrosive, because half of the Murmur faction is armored, so corrosive should be very, very good. We're going to be testing, weirdly, viral, because even though viral will do less damage to Murmur, they don't have shield, so they're all health, and viral special effect is that it does 325% more damage at max stacks to health. So I still wanted to check viral against Murmur. And then finally, we're going to be checking gas. And that's just more of a like viewer request. I've been getting a lot of people requesting for me to add gas in these tests. Even against like the previous guys that we did, like Corpus and Grenier. So I might have like another video after I do the Corrupted tomorrow, where I add like all the requested elements against the factions that maybe I just didn't do yet. So, or that people think might be really good on them that I just haven't tested. Okay, so let's just explain these elements real quick. We'll explain the easy ones first, and then I'll go into the ones that are a little bit harder, and I'll have to actually show them. So radiation, its effect is that it's going to make enemies confused, and enemies are going to fight each other. And the more stacks of radiation a dude has, the more damage he's going to do to his former allies. But it only stacks to 10, so it can't go super, super high, but he'll be doing some decent damage to his former allies there. Electric is an AoE dot, similar to gas. Actually, electric and gas are very similar. So electric is a AoE dot, except it's only 3 meters, but it stuns the targets that it hits. And it also does not persist on death. And then we'll talk about gas, which is very similar. So gas is at max, so at 10 stacks, is a 6 meter radius, so about double the size of electric. It does not have any kind of a CC effect like electric does, but it does persist on death. Now, the duration of it is 6 seconds, so it's not like a super long duration, but it will still persist on the enemy death. So there's some kind of like pros and cons to both electric and gas. Another pro to electric is that electric will just keep stacking for more dots, whereas gas does have a 10 stack cap. Okay, so that's radiation, electric, gas. Viral, I already kind of went over. It stacks up to 325% damage to health. The only weird thing about that is that the very first stack counts as 100%, and then every stack after that counts as 25%, all the way up to 10 stacks. Corrosive, that will strip armor. I think at 10 stacks it's 80% still. I don't think that changed with the rework. I believe it's still 80%. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but it does strip armor for each stack you're putting on. And then Blast. Blast is kind of like the brand new one. I'm actually just going to show Blast off here. Put Blast on. Just type in Blast, put Hellfire, and Rhyme Rounds. Okay, so let's read Blast first, and then I'm going to show it on a enemy there. So Blast deals 30% of its base damage after 1.5 seconds. You should stop reading there. It says as an explosion, but it does not explode there. So it deals 30% of its base damage after 1.5 seconds. Think of it as a dot, but it only ticks one time and then it goes away. And then the second part of it is at 10 stacks, or when the target dies, stacks deal their damage simultaneously to enemies within 5 meters while staggering them. So this is where it actually explodes. Okay, so let's show this off here. We'll show the non-exploding effect first. So you just find an enemy. We're going to just go boop, and he's got 1, and he ticks 1 time. That's it. Now it's gone. Going to shoot him a few times more. He's got 2. Boop, 2 ticks, and then they fall off. Do it again. Oh, he's got 7 ticks, and then they fall off. Now let's actually make it explode. And when I get up to 10 stacks, it's going to explode. And you're going to see all these dudes get staggered around him. Now, in the Simulacrum, they only get staggered. They don't take damage, but they should take damage in gameplay. Well, they do take damage in gameplay. I've done this so long this morning. So you can see these guys are starting to get staggered and whatnot there. And that will keep resetting, because once you get to 10, it blows up, and then it gets set back to 0, and then you can get back to 10 again, and blow up, and you can redo that effect over and over and over. Or when the target dies, it'll also happen again. So that is Blast. Okay, we went over the elements that we're testing. I explained the more confusing one there with Blast. And I think we can go into explaining what I did for the test. So I did these tests on Steel Path. I believe it's called Persto. It is the Whispers content that's survival. I think it's Whispers Persto on Steel Path I did. I did 5 runs for 5 minutes on each element. And I did that with the Prisma Grokata. The reason I chose the Prisma Grokata is because it is an extremely average weapon with average IPS, with average status chance. It doesn't have high status chance, doesn't have low status chance. It is just average across the board. Now, the only thing with the Prisma Grokata is that it is a low alpha damage weapon. It shoots very fast, and so it produces a lot of DPS, but each individual shot is very low damage. Each individual shot's paper damage is only like 200 or less. So I did another set of tests. So again, 5 minutes, 5 runs, each element with the Prisma Grinlock. The Prisma Grinlock I chose, again, because it's extremely average. There's nothing crazy about it. It has full IPS. It has average everything. The only difference is that it is a high alpha damage weapon, so it shoots much slower, but does more damage per shot. Its paper damage is about 2,000 damage per shot. So, okay. And then the other thing is I stripped off any kind of RNG type mods. So I stripped off Galvanized Aptitude, because Galvanized Aptitude is sometimes weaker than Serration, and a lot of times it's stronger than Serration. And I just wanted something that worked all the time, so I just put Serration on, because Serration is always 165. I did keep my headshot mods on, because I'm able to get consistent headshots and stay at max cap. So that's not RNG for me, because I know I'm able to stay at max cap for it. So, okay, I think we are ready to go into the PowerPoint presentation. Ready, guys? Here we go. All right, so first we have the Prisma Grokata. This is the low alpha damage weapon. These are the kill counts for 5-minute runs. There is some spicy stuff on here. So against Murmur, electric and radiation should be the ones that Murmur are vulnerable to. And obviously electric is number 1. But look who is dead last at doo-doo tier. Oh my goodness, it's radiation. I did not foresee this happening. But we'll start from the beginning. We'll start from the front there, and then we'll work our way towards radiation. So electric got first place with 294, 275, 332, 398. I put a little dot there because that's a little bit of an outlier. I got like really high kills that run for some reason. 310 for a total in 5 runs of 1,609 kills. Gas came in second place with 345, 290, 292, 325, 321 for a total in 5 runs of 1,573 kills. So actually very, very close to electric. Gas and electric were pretty much neck and neck. And you know, this is me doing runs, so there's a little bit of RNG. Like, you know, maybe one time I reloaded early instead of letting it manually reload, and that may be why gas is lower. So like, you can't really look at the specific numbers. You can really only look at the big differences. You know, so there's not really a big difference between electric and gas. If I was to redo these tests, maybe gas even beats electric. But so yeah, gas and electric super, super close. And actually the next one we're going to be going over, same thing. So blast, and this is on the low alpha damage weapon. In the previous tests, we actually saw blast doing really poorly in low alpha damage. For some reason, blast was really weird on Murmur. When we get to high alpha, you'll see. So anyway, blast, 349, 327, 283, 298, and 304 for a total in 5 runs of 1,561. So again, right up there with electric and gas. If I was to redo these tests, those 3 might be in a different order. So don't worry too much about the order. Just that those 3 were like neck and neck number 1. All right, corrosive. Corrosive and viral actually had the exact same numbers. So I have corrosive next here. Is going to be at 296, 296, 280, 291, and 279 for a total of 1,442 kills. Viral is next with 313, 307, 253, 285, and 284 for a total, again, of 1,442 kills. These were neck and neck. The only thing I will say is that I did like corrosive better than viral. And actually, I liked corrosive better than even some of the ones that did better than it. Just because corrosive is very comfortable. It kills all of the targets comfortably. A lot of the ones that did better, like let's say gas, for instance. Gas is super friggin' strong, but it's obviously weaker against the constructed dudes that have, or constructs that have armor. Like, it's chewing up the Murmur, it's chewing up the really weak constructs that die in like 1 hit anyway, but like the heavier constructs, it's taking a bit to kill. Corrosive didn't feel like that. Corrosive in total got less kills than like gas and electric and blast, but it was pretty like comfortable fighting everything. So like corrosive and viral are about the same kills there, but I'd give a little bit more props to corrosive because it was super comfortable fighting everything with it. And then in last place in that doo-doo tier, we got that radiation. So radiation, we have 210, 179, 205, 220, and 221 for a total of 1,035 kills in 5 runs. This was pretty bad. Now, there is kind of like a caveat to this, because I probably could have got a little bit more kills at radiation. But the unfortunate thing is the actual radiation effect screws you. So like enemies are coming towards you, they're all nice and lined up, really easy to kill. And then you start shooting them, they get the radiation proc, and they start wandering around like lost kids in Walmart. Because now they're trying to like, fight their former allies and stuff. And so you lose a lot of like that grouping and tunneling effect that some enemies get. And so that actually hurts your kill count on radiation because of it. But even despite that, radiation was still really, really weak. I was consistently running out of ammo and running out of oxygen in a lot of runs. It says I only did 5 runs. I actually did more than 5 runs on radiation. I had to throw away some runs because I kept running out of air early before 5 minutes. I probably had to do about 10 runs on radiation. It was horrible. And that speaks to my kills not being quick enough. So radiation wasn't killing quick enough to produce the yellow life supports. And running out of ammo meant that I was just spending too many bullets per dude to actually kill him and not be picking up ammo packs. So radiation did really, really poorly. Okay. So that is the Prismagrakata low alpha damage. We'll switch to my beautiful Inaros real quick. And then now we're going to be going into the high alpha damage Prisma Grinlock. You ready, guys? Here we go. All right, Prisma Grinlock, high alpha damage. So we have some similar things here. Electric and gas still top, and they're still pretty much neck and neck. But here's the interesting thing. Blast actually got worse on this one. All the other tests we've done, Blast has gotten better on high alpha damage weapons. and I can't exactly explain why. I think here's my thought, and if you have a thought of why maybe on Murmur specifically it got worse on high alpha damage, make sure you let me know in the comments. But here's my thought. My thought is that the Prisma Grinlock is too much in the middle. It's killing the little Murmurs in one hit, and so you're only getting one blast proc that detonates instead of like maybe 3 or 4 or 5. And the bigger dudes, it's too weak. And so, like, it's taking so long to kill the big dudes and make them blow up. And so I feel like it's kind of in between. Like, maybe the Grinlock itself wasn't the best. I'm using the Grinlock for all of these tests, but maybe for Murmur specifically, like, it was just too much in that middle ground where, like, a high alpha damage, or the Grinlock itself just wasn't good with Blast on Murmur. I don't know. I couldn't really explain why all of a sudden, 1 out of 4 tests, Blast got worse on high alpha damage. All right, let me stop running my mouth and go over the numbers here. So we have Electric in number 1 with 338, 307, 364, 351, and 320 for a total of 1,680 kills in 5 runs. Next, we have Gas again in second, pretty close though to Electric, with 310, 333, 331, 327, and 306 for a total of 1,607. Corrosive in third with, and actually if you look, Corrosive, Blast, and Viral are all pretty much like right next to each other. Again, if I was to redo these tests, those 3 could be completely different order. So you have to look at the large changes, not necessarily like the single digit changes. So Corrosive, Blast, and Viral are basically with each other. And the same thing with Electric and Gas. They're so close that if I was to redo the test, Gas maybe would beat Electric. So anyway, did I go over Corrosive? I don't know. We're going to go over it again. So Corrosive, 230, 222, 243, 237, and 231 for a total of 1,163. Blast in fourth with 220, 210, 240, 236, 223 for a total of 1,129. Viral in fifth with 220, 223, 227, 230, and 222 for a total of 1,122. And we got Radiation again in doo-doo tier with 154, 162, 125, 145, and 149 with a total of 735. So consistently, Radiation was doo-doo tier, and it's for pretty much the same reason. Enemies just wandering off, like doing their own thing. They're not like tunneling anymore, and you're not getting kills because of it. So really bad. Radiation really bad for Whispers. If you are fighting a Murmur boss, yeah, absolutely use Radiation, right? Like if you're fighting the 60 Eyes Murmur boss, it makes sense to use Radiation. Because the Murmur boss is not going to go wandering around. Like that's where you're losing a lot of your DPS with Radiation. So I think against the boss, Radiation's still good. Like I think Void Angels, I think their vulnerability is Radiation, so I think you would use Radiation against Void Angels. I'm pretty sure Eidolon is still Radiation. So like all the bosses, you'd probably still use Radiation on. But the Murmur enemies themselves, like the Eximuses and the trash enemies, it's garbage tier. Radiation's horrible. So I can't recommend that against Murmur, which is weird because Radiation is supposed to be one of the elements that's strong against Murmur. Electric, though, Electric is the other one that's strong against Murmur, and consistently it is number 1. So Electric is super, super good against Murmur. Gas, consistently really good against Murmur. You know what the cool thing about Electric and Gas are? They're both, you can use both of them, right? Because Gas is heat and toxic, and Electric is electric. So you can use both of them. They're both AoE dots, so you have a crazy AoE dot build for Whispers. And I wonder, it'd probably work on other factions too, Electric and Gas. I know Electric was really strong on Corpus. I didn't test Gas on Corpus, and that's why maybe I'll add that to like that video I do after. So Electric and Gas might be a really crazy combo against Whispers. Corrosive too. Even though Corrosive wasn't like first and second in any of these tests, Corrosive was very comfortable fighting Murmur enemies because it killed everything equally. It's not like all of a sudden you had a construct in your face and the weapon felt like ass. Like it consistently felt decent with Corrosive. Blast on the low alpha damage weapon was actually doing better this time. It actually felt pretty good on the low alpha, and then once I went to high alpha, it was was not so great, right? It's like it's the same as corrosive, but it's not as consistent as corrosive. It feels bad on those big enemies. Same thing with viral. Like viral, it's okay, but it feels worse on those big enemies. Not as bad as blast. Blast felt a little bit worse on the big enemies. So yeah, that is the runs there that we did. I'm going to go back to my Inaros. So these are short videos, but they take me a very, very long time to get all this information. Again, each one of those runs is a 5-minute run, and I do that on 2 different weapons. So I started today at about 3 a.m., and it's like noon right now. So yeah, we'll do I think we're going to do Corrupted tomorrow for a video. So we'll do Anti-Corrupted, which is also going to be a big video. I'll have to test a lot of elements there too, because Corrupted's basically a mix of all the factions. So I have to, it'll probably be another like 6 element test that I have to do. And then for the video I do after Corrupted, it's going to be the elements that maybe I didn't test, but you still want to see. Like maybe you're like, you know what? Maybe cold would be good against Grenier. Like how would you test cold against Grenier, Salt? You know, something like that. Make sure you let me know in the comments. I know gas has been heavily requested, so I'm going to test gas against. The only thing I've tested it so far against are these dudes and Infested. So I have to go back and test it with Corpus, and I have to go back and test it with Grenier. I think that is everything. If you like the video, guys, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing, or let me know what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have a great day. All right, bye.